Most people think that if you enjoy your own company, it means you're lonely, antisocial, or maybe even a little strange, but that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, the people who choose solitude often have qualities that make them stronger, sharper, and more self-aware than the rest. Today, I'm going to share with you 8 surprising traits that reveal why those who prefer their own company are not just different, they are powerful. When people think of strength, they often imagine something external, physical power, loud voices, or commanding presence. But the truth is, real strength begins within. Solitude is one of the most powerful environments to build that kind of strength. When you spend time alone, you are not running from yourself, you are confronting yourself. You are choosing to sit in the quiet, without distraction, without the noise of other people's opinions, and that takes courage. Most people avoid solitude because they fear what they might discover about themselves. They keep themselves busy, always surrounded, always distracted. But when you can be with yourself and feel comfortable in that space, you develop a resilience that many never achieve. Solitude allows you to process your thoughts, your emotions, and your experiences without interference. It strips away the masks you wear for others and forces you to see who you really are. In those quiet moments, you begin to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and the parts of you that need to grow. That level of self-honesty builds a foundation of inner strength no one can take from you. Another reason solitude builds inner strength is because it teaches you self-reliance. When you are alone, there is no one to lean on, no one to validate your choices, and no one to tell you what to do. You have to make decisions for yourself, and you learn to trust your own judgment. That is where confidence comes from, not from having all the answers, but from trusting yourself enough to figure things out. The more time you spend alone, the more you sharpen that muscle. You start to believe in your ability to handle challenges because you've already done so in the quiet of your own space. You've had the conversations with yourself, worked through the doubts, and chosen to keep moving forward. Solitude also strengthens your emotional resilience. When you are not dependent on constant social interaction to feel good, you create an emotional stability that is unshakable. You are no longer at the mercy of who includes you, who texts you, or who validates you. Instead, your sense of peace comes from within. You become more grounded, less reactive, and more capable of handling life's ups and downs. When people are constantly surrounded by others, they sometimes confuse companionship with strength. But strength is revealed when the noise is gone, and you can still stand tall on your own. That is the kind of strength solitude gives you. Another powerful aspect of solitude is discipline. Choosing to be alone means choosing to resist distractions. In those quiet hours, you can focus, reflect, and work on yourself in a way that isn't possible when you're constantly pulled in 100 directions. Discipline grows in that space because you learn to prioritize what really matters. You become intentional with your time, your energy, and your focus. That level of discipline is an inner strength that will support you in every area of your life, from relationships to career to personal growth. Finally, solitude teaches you balance. When you are comfortable being alone, you don't fall into the trap of needing people out of fear. You choose people out of genuine desire. That shift changes the quality of your connections and gives you a strong foundation for healthy relationships. Because you know how to stand on your own, you don't cling, you don't settle, and you don't tolerate what doesn't align with your values. That kind of strength is rare, but it is built in the quiet moments when it's just you and yourself, learning to be whole without anyone else filling the gaps. Self-awareness grows in silence because silence gives you the space to hear yourself. In the constant noise of daily life, it's easy to lose track of your own thoughts and feelings. You are bombarded by opinions, social media updates, the expectations of family, friends, and society, and without realizing it, you start to carry beliefs and habits that may not even belong to you. But when you choose silence, you strip away that external clutter and create a space where your true voice can finally come through. In solitude, you have the chance to ask yourself important questions. What do I really want? What do I actually believe, and who am I becoming? These are questions that require stillness, and the answers often arrive quietly, not in chaos but in calm. Silence is like a mirror. It reflects back to you what is really happening inside. Sometimes that reflection is uncomfortable because it forces you to face emotions you may have buried: fear, disappointment, anger, or even regret. Yet it is only by acknowledging those emotions that you gain clarity about yourself. People who avoid silence often do so because they don't want to face those feelings. They keep themselves busy, surround themselves with others, and distract their minds. But true self-awareness demands that you stop running and sit with what is real. In that stillness, you not only recognize what hurts, but you also discover what inspires you, what excites you, and what gives your life meaning. Another reason silence grows self-awareness is because it slows down your thinking. Most of the time, our minds are racing from one thought to the next. We react rather than reflect, but silence forces a different pace. It allows you to observe your thoughts as they arise, to notice patterns, and to see connections you would otherwise miss. Maybe you realize that your frustration at work is not really about your job, but about a lack of recognition. Maybe you notice that your arguments with someone close to you come from unspoken expectations you haven't expressed. These realizations don't appear in noise. They reveal themselves when you give your mind room to breathe. Silence also allows you to tune into your body. Self-awareness is not just about your mind, but about your whole being. In quiet moments, you may notice tension in your shoulders, fatigue you've been ignoring, or the way your breathing changes when you think about certain situations. These subtle signals are important. They tell you about stress, about unresolved emotions, and about your overall well-being. Learning to listen to your body is part of developing a deeper awareness of who you are and what you need. Beyond reflection, silence helps you align with your values. When you are always in the noise, it's easy to adopt the values of others without realizing it. Maybe you chase success as others define it or live up to roles people expect from you. But when you step into silence, you have the chance to ask whether those values truly belong to you. Do you want the life you're building, or are you building someone else's vision? Self-awareness means making that distinction, and silence is where that realization happens. Finally, silence nurtures intuition. When you are constantly distracted, your inner instincts are drowned out. But in silence, those instincts become clearer. You begin to recognize the subtle pull toward what is right for you and the warning signs when something is not. Intuition is not magic. It's the voice of your accumulated knowledge, experience, and subconscious wisdom. To access it, you need stillness. The more you practice silence, the more confident you become in recognizing and trusting that voice. That trust is one of the highest forms of self-awareness, guiding you to make decisions that align with your authentic self. Independence fuels confidence because when you learn to rely on yourself, you prove to yourself that you are capable of handling whatever life throws your way. Many people seek constant reassurance from others, whether it's for making decisions, validating their worth, or even defining who they are. But when you cultivate independence, you break that cycle. You stop outsourcing your sense of security and start building it from within. Every time you take responsibility for your choices, every time you solve a problem without waiting for someone else to step in, you strengthen your belief in your own abilities. That belief is the foundation of true confidence because it doesn't depend on who is around or what circumstances you're in. It comes from knowing that you can stand on your own 2 feet. Independence also teaches you accountability, and accountability is a powerful driver of confidence. When you take full ownership of your actions and their outcomes, you begin to see that you are in control of your life. This doesn't mean you won't fail or make mistakes, but it means you understand that you are capable of learning and growing from those experiences. That shift in mindset transforms the way you approach challenges. Instead of shrinking back in fear or waiting for someone else to fix things, you lean forward with courage because you trust your ability to adapt. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite fear. And independence makes that possible because it reminds you that you don't have to depend on anyone else to create the life you want. Another way independence fuels confidence is by giving you freedom of choice. When you are dependent on others for validation, support, or even financial stability, your options are limited by their approval or resources. But when you cultivate independence, you unlock the freedom to choose what aligns with your values, your goals, and your happiness. That freedom strengthens confidence because it reinforces that you are the one steering your life. You are no longer waiting for permission, and that mindset alone creates an undeniable sense of strength. With independence, you learn to design your own path, even if it looks different from what others expect. That boldness to walk your own way is the essence of confidence. Independence also builds resilience. When you learn to navigate life on your own, you inevitably face obstacles and setbacks. But every time you overcome one, you prove to yourself that you can handle difficulty. That proof accumulates and becomes confidence. You no longer see failure as an end, but as a lesson. You no longer see obstacles as threats, but as opportunities to sharpen your skills. People who are overly dependent on others often crumble when support is taken away. But those who build independence develop a confidence that no one can shake because it has been forged through trial and persistence. At the same time, independence strengthens your ability to set boundaries. When you are confident in yourself, you no longer tolerate relationships or situations that drain your energy or compromise your values. You don't need others to fill gaps in your self-worth. So you choose connections from a place of wholeness instead of need. That shift makes your relationships healthier and more fulfilling, which in turn reinforces your confidence even more. Independence doesn't mean isolation. It means entering into relationships from a position of strength rather than dependence. Ultimately, independence fuels confidence by teaching you that you are enough. You stop chasing approval. You stop fearing rejection, and you stop doubting your worth. You realize that no matter what happens, you have yourself to rely on, and that realization creates a confidence so solid that it carries you through life with strength, clarity, and purpose. Deep thinkers value quality over quantity because they understand that not everything in life deserves equal attention, time, or energy. They are selective with what they engage in, not because they are cold or dismissive, but because they see the bigger picture. For them, surface-level conversations and shallow interactions hold little weight. They prefer depth, conversations that explore ideas, uncover truths, and connect to something meaningful. Instead of surrounding themselves with large groups of people for the sake of being social, they invest in fewer but stronger relationships where trust, respect, and understanding run deep. This preference reflects not only how they approach people, but also how they approach life itself. When it comes to friendships, deep thinkers often gravitate toward individuals who inspire growth, challenge their perspective, and bring authenticity. They are not interested in popularity or fitting into a crowd just to belong. They know that surrounding themselves with the wrong people can drain their energy and dilute their focus, so they choose carefully, sometimes even preferring solitude over company that doesn't align with their values. This might make them seem selective, but what it really shows is that they place more value on meaningful bonds than on the number of people they know. That choice builds relationships that last, relationships built on truth rather than convenience. The same principle applies to their use of time. Deep thinkers understand that time is a limited resource, and once it's gone, you can't get it back. While many people spread themselves thin chasing every opportunity, every event, or every invitation, deep thinkers weigh their choices carefully. They ask whether something contributes to their growth, peace, or purpose before committing to it. That habit of choosing quality experiences over endless activity allows them to focus on what truly matters. They invest in learning, creating, or pursuing goals that align with who they want to be. As a result, their lives often have a sense of direction and clarity that others struggle to find. Deep thinkers also apply this mindset to the way they consume information. In a world overflowing with quick headlines, endless scrolling, and surface-level content, they look for knowledge with substance. They value books, conversations, and experiences that expand their minds rather than distractions that fill time. This is not because they are trying to be different, but because they recognize that what you feed your mind shapes how you think and ultimately how you live. Choosing quality information over quantity makes them more insightful, more creative, and better equipped to understand themselves and the world. Another important aspect of valuing quality over quantity is how it influences their goals and achievements. Instead of chasing recognition or trying to do everything at once, deep thinkers aim for impact. They would rather master one thing than dabble in 10. They would rather create something meaningful that lasts than produce something quickly that fades. This approach requires patience, discipline, and the willingness to say no to shortcuts. But it also brings fulfillment because they know that what they are building has real value. Lastly, this mindset affects how they experience life itself. Deep thinkers don't just go through the motions. They notice the details, appreciate small moments, and find meaning where others overlook it. They know that life isn't about collecting endless experiences, but about fully living the ones that matter. By choosing quality over quantity, they avoid burnout, maintain focus, and cultivate a sense of satisfaction that comes from depth rather than excess. In every aspect of their lives, from relationships to goals to how they spend their time, deep thinkers remind us that true fulfillment doesn't come from having more, it comes from valuing what is truly worthwhile. Boundaries protect energy because without them, your time, focus, and emotional well-being can be pulled in every direction until there is nothing left for yourself. Every person has a limited amount of mental, physical, and emotional energy to give, and the way you protect that energy determines the quality of your life. When you don't set boundaries, you become vulnerable to constant interruptions, unreasonable demands, and even toxic relationships. People begin to expect more than you can give, and you end up exhausted, resentful, and disconnected from your own priorities. But when you create clear boundaries, you take control of where your energy flows. You learn to say no to what drains you and yes to what strengthens you, and that choice changes everything. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are filters that determine what you allow in and what you keep out. Just like a home needs doors and locks to keep it safe, your life needs boundaries to protect what matters most. Without them, you let in distractions, negativity, and unnecessary stress. With them, you create space for peace, growth, and meaningful relationships. People who respect themselves enough to set boundaries understand that their energy is one of their most valuable resources. They don't waste it on endless obligations or people who take without giving back. Instead, they invest it in their passions, their health, and relationships that bring mutual respect and value. Another way boundaries protect energy is by reducing emotional overwhelm. When you say yes to everything, you stretch yourself too thin. You try to meet everyone else's expectations, but in the process, you abandon your own needs. This not only drains you, it makes you feel unbalanced and unfulfilled. Boundaries help you avoid that trap. They give you permission to honor your limits without guilt. They remind you that it is okay to rest, to recharge, and to prioritize yourself. By protecting your emotional energy, you prevent burnout and preserve the mental clarity needed to handle challenges effectively. Boundaries also strengthen your relationships. People often think that saying no will push others away, but the truth is the opposite. Healthy boundaries create healthier relationships. When you are clear about what you will and won't accept, you teach others how to treat you. Those who respect your boundaries stay, and those who don't reveal themselves quickly. This clarity eliminates unnecessary conflict and creates stronger bonds built on trust and mutual respect. In this way, boundaries don't distance you from people, they bring you closer to the right people. In addition, boundaries protect your focus. In a world filled with constant notifications, demands, and distractions, your attention is constantly under attack. If you don't protect it, you'll find yourself constantly reacting instead of creating, consuming instead of producing. Boundaries help you block out the noise and direct your energy toward your goals. Whether it's turning off your phone, setting limits on work hours, or creating time for personal reflection, these small choices protect the focus that allows you to grow. Perhaps the most powerful part of setting boundaries is the way it reinforces self-respect. Every time you set a boundary, you are telling yourself and others that your well-being matters. You are declaring that your energy is not up for grabs, that your life has value, and that you are committed to protecting it. That self-respect builds confidence, resilience, and inner peace. Instead of living drained and resentful, you live balanced and intentional. Boundaries are not selfish, they are essential. They are the framework that protects your energy so you can live fully, give meaningfully, and thrive without being depleted.